I will be doing what I really do well, is fundraising and helping with the government relations that are involved with this project. So I think Mark put this really well. I mean, I think that the only thing that I've said, I said at the Ramona Gardens meeting, is that, you know, Legacy's job is to really listen, and keep putting together plans that are modified and modified and modified until we all come up together with a community plan for what will be, in my mind, a huge asset to everyone that lives here. And I think that that's why we've put together such a coalition of people that are dedicated to making this a fabulous, fabulous place that is defined and is the community. And I think that's what I really have to say, is also Legacy is designed to be a funding body. It is not designed to program. So what we would be doing is working with Rec and Parks, and if the community decided that they wanted mentoring programs or different kinds of services, we would go out and work with community organizations that already exist and have come in contractual relationship with them to come into the Armory to deliver those services. So the organizations that will be tenants, quote, without, you know, not rental tenants, will be the nonprofits that are working in this community. Clearly there has to be a strong nature piece because of the importance of the wetlands. And so a logical partner for Legacy might be Northeast Trees to bring in those services, because they have been working with the youth here for how many years, Carrie? I mean, years. I mean, so basically what Legacy is designed to do is to create a fundable business plan that will deliver services in partnership with Rec and Parks in the city.
So let me, and you're the first question, but I do want to just, I want to just, I know when you said in your mind it's going to be this, but at the end of the day, it's the commission and the council, because that's where the final determination is at, honestly. So I just want to make sure you understand that. Well, it goes through the community, goes through the Rec and Park Commission, and it goes through the council.
Exactly, that's what I meant.
So I'm going to let you either sit or do that, and we're going to start with question numero uno.
Well,
Don't leave the building.
No, I'm leaving.
Jeez.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open up for Q&A. Juanita, you're first.
Okay, you say there's going to be 2 phases of award funding. What's the first phase, and how much is it going to be, and how much is the second phase, and how much is it going to be, and what does it encompass on each phase 1 and phase 2?
Okay. The department still doesn't have the 100% of that detail, which is why we're continuing to meet. And so we can get that back to you after when that full presentation is given to Mike Scholl, John, and me. Is me or I? When it's given to John,
Me.
Mike, and me. I know, I'm working on it. My wife's an English teacher, so I gotta be focused. We will then be able to speak very intelligently on that one, but as of right now, the department doesn't have that full information.
Okay, then what's the outreach time frame?
Right now, the potential is 6 to 18 months. Our whole goal with this September 2007 letter is to have a complete project, project being, this whole process done, so that we could be targeting in spring to summer of 2009 to be with our Rec and Park Commission.
So that's 2009 presented to the commission.
No, I'll wait and let the other people out first. I got some for you.
Yep.
Originally, we heard that this was going to go to the commission first, kind of at the outset of the process. Is it not?
The beginning stages of this, there's some steps there. There will be a informational board report that brings them going forward, so that the commission, we just have a new board president. We just started. And so as we were in that whole transition, and we talked with Dan Grunfeld briefly, who now has gone from the president of our commission to being the deputy mayor of policy in the mayor's office, effective yesterday, actually, he started yesterday. Because all this stuff was happening right in the middle of that September, we instead of doing the board report at the November 7th, or whatever that first, I don't know what the exact date is, but instead of that first meeting in November, we potentially are taking an informational board report to our commission the third Thursday in November. So that's all being processed, but in order to do that and have enough information, that's why I need to get Jenny or Lou now, whoever you're going to say is going to do. Well, I need to get with, we've got to get with Mike and John so we can finish drafting, other than more of the document of the letter that says, hey, we're great partners, we're doing this and this, because there's more details that we actually need to be able to say to the commission. Scott's handling.
Go ahead, I'll wait. I'll defer anybody in the audience and then I'll go. Go ahead, Pete.
Lou and her have some partnership going. I thought there was going to be a process open for the whole community to be involved, or other people, or nonprofits, or
there's a whole process.
Groups.
Remember, I've come here tonight to give you the department's answers to all these, and not as much of a entire legacy presentation of this.
No, what I understood was there was going to be an open process.
There is a whole.
There is.
Okay,
And
that's
so,
what we would like to know. That's what
Well,
the meeting's about.
I can give like what I know, just,
Well, let me just say this first, because once again, before we get into details that will become confusing to some extent, Carrie's got a very good, at least handle on experience of things that we've done, which is that commission question issue. And once again, as we kind of finesse that whole process, because that's why I'm saying there's a lot of confusion going out there. Part of what we are presenting in our informational board report is probably the answer in a little more detail, which is more appropriate to be answered in that kind of document to them. But I'm going to let them speak. I just want you to know that that's, so that you know that that's really where it's going to. Yes. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
my whole role in this is to ensure that there is an open process, that there is community support, that every single person that wants to give their input has an opportunity to give their input, to facilitate, focus groups, community planning, anything that the community wants to provide as input. That's what my role is going to be. And the reason that I'm interested in this, process is that I see the potential for legacy. I don't know what it's going to end up being. It depends on what the community wants. But I see the potential that if we go, if we have to go door to door and allow people to find out about the potential that they have this gem in their community, that we can develop something together that's going to make a difference in the lives of kids in this neighborhood. Today, there isn't anything.
Okay.
There isn't anything for these kids.
I generally have the same idea, but okay, I just want to come back to.
Are you done?
Say point of information.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Point of information.
my understanding is I'm interested in the same exact thing, but that's why I'm asking that I would like to be part of the involvement, and I'm part of the community. I live here all my life, and I'm still here, probably going to die here in the community. But I see this partnership as not. We were supposed to know how the process is going to work. So I would like to invite the whole community, not just one person or one organization, one group, many groups, to get their input.
Okay, so let me
explain
explain
This is not what I'm not seeing.
Well, let me explain how the process
And I
works.
haven't started either.
But let me explain how the process works in the city of Los Angeles through the directors from the mayor's office and council office to the Recreation and Park Commission and then to staff. Basically, and that's why I said, so we have entered into the beginning stages of the.
I understand the commission, how they're appointed.
Well,
how they
no,
work.
it's not that. It gets to what at the end of the day, I mean, look, right now we call it Legacy LA. I mean,
I understand.
And you're wondering, what will be delivered as the product? The product that the Rec and Park Commission and the council finally agrees to at the final end, it might be 2000, it's in 2009, and then it takes a year of construction to make improvements and do all that stuff. The delivery of the product will be what I think I heard Lou say, and I know Jenny, because we've talked a lot about it. It's going to be the deliverable that the department and the council at the end wants to see delivered based on what is a bunch is not the right term, but the series of meetings and workshops and process. So a good example to utilize right now is as we went forward with Heart of Los Angeles OLA and the partnership of an organization that is going to be delivering programs to the community on behalf of the department inside a recreation and park facility. It took about 18 months, and there was probably at least a dozen different meetings to help set up what those processes were going to be and what those deliverables were going to be. And then it came back to our Rec and Park Commission for that approval process. So you guys understand the approval process. But the process that OLA and their board went through with the same kind of concept, but in a different format of community meetings and some workshops of what it is the community around Lafayette wanted to see delivered in the Lafayette Park area, and specifically then for OLA, in a sense like a legacy, to be a catalyst for OLA and a couple of other organizations to come in and deliver programs in the same place that Rec and Parks is also in the building in and doing, something that might be their expertise, where another organization's expertise is doing this and another organization's expertise is this. That's the catalyst that we've been doing in places. Epic was a great model. Lafayette's going to be a good model. MacArthur is a little bit of that model right now. Out in the valley at, what's that center? I think it's Delano, the new center reopened. There's a model there. I mean, it's getting there, and that's what we're talking about. It's a
Okay, but
different
I don't
process.
see like an open invitation to the community.
We haven't opened the invitation yet.
I mean, it should.
And it will.
It should.
If it's not, I will almost guarantee you that the Recreation and Park Commission will be saying something to the general manager, who will then say something to me and Mike. I can easily see that in a heartbeat.
Point of information on your document.
He's the chair, excuse me. Chair.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Thank you.
since I'm point of information, I have president. Okay, this document is supposed to come out for the November 3rd meeting for the commission. We will be able to.
Third Wednesday
Third Wednesday?
in November.
Okay, third Wednesday.
That is
Will it
currently.
be available to the public?
Yeah, of course, it's a public document.
Yes, but will you give it, say, to the director, so the public or the community
Yeah.
can have availability?
Can we look at it before it's
All right.
finalized? Do you want us to?
Remember, Public Information Act.
How can you access?
Look, I don't want to get into the debate. We've had many debates over the period of time. I want to try to answer. The issue is, the document will be made available. I'm giving you the projected date of when we're going to shoot for. I'm trying to keep it in November and not move it to the meeting in December, because in December there's only one meeting in that month. At least historically, now we're going to be bored, it might change, I'm not 100% sure, but right now there's only one. We are shooting to do that informational board report on that third Wednesday in November.
Okay, Jose, then Mame.
Okay, we're talking community participation, but from what I understand, everything's already been predetermined already with the chosen of the nonprofit legacy. It seems like the mayor, the council, and the commissioners are already on board with legacy without even being presented to the PAB, without the PAB's input, without the community's understanding of who legacy is. So the community is just maybe commenting on something that has already been predetermined. So I don't see where that community participation is. I think predetermining an agency versus maybe having the city reconstruct the building, that was never discussed in the community. And that other option has never even been dealt with or even presented. So this is just a predetermined action without any community input whatsoever. I mean, we're just hearing about it, but it's more like we're being lectured because it's already a predetermined process. Number one. Number two, if Legacy does take control of the Armory, I'll just give an example. Would it be just like Lincoln Park, where they what's in La Raza Plaza where it's leased over for $1? Is that what we're looking at as far as leasing? What's the leasing policy here? Are you gonna lease the property, or is it gonna be Parks and Recs? Who's gonna have control of the physical property? Is it gonna be leased out? How's that gonna work? And third, I think we need to have the community physically have a walkthrough. They should have a meeting over there and have the people walk through the building so they could understand that there's something there for them to participate in. And that outreach hasn't occurred. That's something maybe I'm interested in.
Okay, so a quick thing is, one, based on the statement, so maybe I misunderstood a few things you said, but, as we did some of the work in there, and you're saying that maybe you heard that, or that we didn't tell the community when we were doing improvements in there?
No, I'm talking about the predetermination of selection of a nonprofit.
Well, first of all,
Without the community input.
Once again, the predetermination of a nonprofit of delivering a service has not been determined yet. Remember, what we said Legacy LA is doing on behalf of the department, entering into and utilizing their own money, is the process of a study, a community outreach, a concept of what do we want to visualize this to be down the road. And the way we normally would do that, if we were doing it all in-house with our own money, is we already have a whole set of predetermined architects and specialists that are on contract. And basically, when it's time, as you go down the list and this person has available amount of money to do something for $100,000, $200,000, $400,000, $600,000, based on their contractual and when it's going to end and when we project that time limit will be, we will just go to ABC Consultant and say, this is what we would like you to do, because they're all based on some predetermined bids that have already come in, and they become RFQ, which is request for qualifications, and they do that. Now, this came to us as a idea and a gift that so far, other than my time of meeting with them, which all of you already pay for, and the time to come here, which all of you already pay for, has not cost this department an additional $1. And the idea is that this is a process of an outside, wherever the dollars are all coming from, in order to help us determine basically the same kind of thing that we would have taken a $200, a $400, a $600, $800,000 consulting process through to do. Because on the other issue with the work that we've done there, where people say maybe they didn't know what it is we've done, as we go and ask for dollars to spend there, it is all done although anybody can tell you a budget document is this big when the mayor announces and it goes through council and we take all those books together, but it's all in there. And so because sometimes people can't always readily see the fact that there's an allocation of $100,000 to do ADA improvements there, based on the fact that it happens to be in with 4,000 other pieces of paper, but it goes through a public process. So I sure hope that the community doesn't think that we have gone and gotten dollars to do work that the community, in a sense, didn't have a public record to have approved. So that's one. The second one is on the lease. The department owns the building and will continue to be the operator of the building. Even in the long run, that is always the goal of what once again, if you heard one thing that was said, is that as we jointly come together to figure out who the best operator is for certain components of what the process says will be, what should be in that building, if it's some kind of a naturalist kind of class, if it's some kind of healthy exercise class, if it's some kind of computer lab, if it's some of this. I mean, there's some things that we do okay, there's some things we do poor, and there's probably some things we do much better than delivery of others. So we don't know what it is, the exact delivery of service that Recreation and Parks will do, other than the fact we know at the end of the day, we're the owners of that building. So there's that. And the last one is the walkthrough. I thought there's been some walkthrough, and one of the things I'm working on is to actually see if the department and others, and I haven't quite even presented this in the council office yet, so you probably heard it for the first time from me, is that during the holiday season, that we figure out a way to do some kind of celebration up there. Now, some people have seen the grounds, because when we did the Million Tree Kickoff, Some other things, people used it for parking. And, you know, so people have seen the grounds of that, and I know you've sent some people through the building, but I don't know what the numbers are. But I think that that's a great time that one of the things that I'm going to talk to the council office about, and, you know, I haven't really even told Aaron, is that we will then try to figure out a way to deliver some kind of a holiday program, open house, process, hey, come in and see. I mean, I think that's a great kickoff for that. So, you know, that's a great idea that we haven't done it enough, but that's, you know, we're just getting into this process. So I don't know if I've answered it all, but.
How many pad members here tonight?
When you came in, it was 5, we didn't have a quorum until you walked in, so I had to put a motion to redo the roll call, and we'll call it official. Well, Nick, then I have to chime in a little bit too, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, first I just wanted to say that I'm happy to hear that Lou is partnering up with you, because she is actually a community member, and I think in order to come into the community and do some research, we have to have some trust. And like, I don't know you personally, I don't know LA Legacy, but since I know Lou, like, I'm more comfortable, you know, and I think that's beneficial to the community. I mean, they you know, it's all about trust. You know, you're coming into our community saying we're gonna make changes or asking us or whatever. It's just having somebody that we know that regularly comes to the park is good. So that was a good move. But I think what he was trying to ask, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, is how was she chosen to come on board, or like, or even if it wasn't her, like since you said yourself you're just a funding, you know, entity or whatnot, like who was going to be chosen to make sure that that community input was actually, you know, gonna.
Once again, as we continue to move forward in this whole process, the determination of the deliverer of services, once again, will be, I hope, vetted out in a, once again, in a kind of a public process, whether it's a, you know, it wouldn't be a Brown Act process, but through, you know, workshops and community meetings of, hey, here's a list of 29 CBOs, community-based organizations, and or other government entities or other kinds of service groups that can deliver this product of these 15 things that many people would like to see. And I think that's the whole idea, is that, you know, once again, as we get to the end of the day, though, there's a couple different things that I see. Part of it is going to be that if there's an organization that wants to fund program support, there's going to be, I hope, because this department is going to require of any groups that move forward on the utilization of park property, and one of the things you heard the word say, a business plan, things that actually will sustain over a period of time the organizations that have the ability to deliver that program and that product. Needs to be satisfactory to the department, but it probably also needs to be satisfactory to what, if Legacy LA at the end of the day, 2009, 2010, becomes a straight funding arm of raising dollars for improvements in Boyle Heights, or very specifically right here, and then they're going to deliver those dollars to the deliverer of service, whether it's part of us, but in a sense, you know, we get a little bit of government funding. Never enough, really. Just plug that in. We never get
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. I know where you're going. I don't think that's right.
Well,
I don't think they should have the control of basically who's in there and who's not, who goes, who stays.
once again,
And then the thing is, I think it should be, like I said again, an open invitation to the community, whoever wants to contact either the city council, because it seems like when the community asks questions, only certain people get answers back, where it should be open to anybody in the community and get answers back, and positive answers, because see, everybody feels